3, 2, 1.
All right. Well, welcome back to my leadership podcast. My name is Caden Henderson, and I have the pleasure to interview a leader in my life who I've just looked up to for about a year and a half now. The goal of this leadership podcast is to interview people who have not only found great success in their fields, but who have also inspired me to grow and who push people around them to grow, who lead by example and encourage just the people around them to be imaginative and to do more. And when I was trying to figure out who I wanted to interview first, the first person that came to mind was Connor VB. Connor, thank you for being here.
Wow, that's a huge compliment. Thank you.
Of course. Me and Connor, we met a year and a half ago, I think.
Yeah.
When
Since then, I've met your parents who came in from Texas. That was awesome. I could see where the greatness of Caden came from. I always like meeting people's families because, even on the first impression, you kind of get an idea of where they're from.
Yeah, that's very kind of you to say. Yeah, we met about a year and a half ago in my sophomore year of college. I had worked on-campus jobs my freshman year, and I liked it, but I wanted something more, something that I felt like I would enjoy a lot. And I thought about being a barista, and all my friends were raving about Upshot. And so I went there, and I was like, ooh, I need to work at this place. And so I interviewed with Connor's son, Connor, who's the general manager at Cottleville. It's so confusing.
I know. We just, it's just keeping it simple. If I could have named the second son Connor, I probably would have just done that. But my wife put a hard line in the sand. She allowed the first one, but the second one, she thought that was her ability to name the second one. And I was wisely wanting to stay married, thought that was a good idea.
Yeah, it was probably smart. It was probably smart, but interviewed there, got the barista job, and just fell in love with the coffee industry. And since then, I got to hear just a little bit about Connor's story about all the way back when VB Chocolate was still around.
Oh, yeah.
Going from that to the flagship location in Cottleville, growing from that to St. Charles and the Break Shop. And then within a year of now, going from Clayton and Hi-Fi to now Tower Grove and Flyby, it's just growing and expanding so fast. So thank you for being here, Connor. I'm
Absolutely.
just glad that we get this opportunity.
I'm grateful to chat with you. And I will say, last year having you on board, we really enjoyed having you here. We were sad when we missed you for the summer, but I will say, the note that you wrote us on your way out the door that just thanked us for our time and said some really nice things. That's something that no employees do ever. And it's such a simple thing. And so I remember reading that and just being like, okay, this is a little bit different. And so that's my encouragement to people that are trying to get advice from people, trying to get them to give you some advice or give you some of their time and move your career along, simple little things like a note that says, hey, thank you. I appreciated my time here. That was such a mature, eye-opening thing to see coming from you that it was something that I was like, okay. I mean, that's something that you'll remember someone by. So I want to say thank you for writing that letter to us. We never hear good things. Well, no, I wouldn't say that. We hear a lot of good things, but it's very rare you have a letter you can hold in your hand when someone leaves that says, these things meant something to me. And because in our goal, our stated goal is to impact people. That's the entire purpose we are here, right? And so oftentimes we think we've impacted people,
Yeah.
but we don't really know, right? There's a lot of vagueness as people's lives change and they move on. And so that was a really cool thing to say, oh, yeah, actually, our goal was to impact Caden. He was here. He felt impact and he let us know. And that was a really cool thing. So I would just encourage more and more people that are young coming up into the business world. You think it's these crazy big things you have to do to get someone's attention, but it's oftentimes just the very small intuitive things that let people know you're paying attention and you're grateful.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Thank you for saying that. Okay. Could you give an overview of Upshot, like how it started, its growth, what the brand stands for in terms of its culture and its values?
What I would say Upshot stands for now is integrity in roasting, creating purpose in people's life, impacting the people we get to serve every day. It's about building a great company that the people that work in it look forward to seeing and serving each other every day. It's not a duty. It's something that you engage in and you choose to do every single day. So we're essentially a hospitality company that focuses on roasting coffee. And I don't say we're a hospitality company and we're not a coffee company because we don't focus on the coffee. The coffee is the absolute number one thing. But in order for me to sell coffee, I've got to be able to have it happen in a hospitable surrounding that translates the way that I feel about that coffee directly to you.
Mm.
Something that separates it from just being a commodity where I'm paying $2.75 for a cup at a gas station on my way through.
Yeah.
We're trying to create connections with people. We're trying to create relationships with people. We're trying to create regulars.
Yeah. And I think that's clear. As a barista, I've seen the people who you hire, you're so intentional with the people you hire because they all have very unique personalities, but they all end up working really well together. And those people, we get to foster this sense of community where I look forward to going to work because of the people I work with and because the regulars I get to see. And I think, like you're saying, it starts top down from you hiring good employees and then just instilling that from the like overview of what Upshot is, like making sure employees know that from the forefront and we get to portray that to customers. I think it's really impactful and I see it every day and I experience it every day. I love going into work. It's so fun.
Well, and we've all had jobs where like you get anxiety before you have to go in. And that's not to say you have a big project. I mean, we all have days where we're like, tired and you're not 100% wanting to be at work, but that should be a small portion of your job, not every single day. So what we want to do is we want to create a place that allows people to come in and they are actually choosing to be there. They're excited to be there and they're surrounded by people that have that same energy. So like the times when Upshot has done really, really well, it's because our culture is strong. We know what our culture is and we hire for our culture and then we keep that culture strong. That way, you know what to expect when you walk in, not only for our regulars, but for our staff, right? If everyone's in a great mood and they want to go out after work and get a drink, and then there's, the two new people that just hate everything about ever hanging out with those people, like the vibe and the energy of the cafe is going to come way down. So we're trying to put people in there that have the same energy, have the same basic morals, the same beliefs, the same everything to where culturally there's not a bunch of disagreements. There's like, hey, we love coffee. We love people. Let's have fun and do something that isn't always easy. It can be very hard at times, but you get to see, I think the beautiful thing about a restaurant or a hospitality is someone pays you for something and you get to hand it directly off to them and you get to see them either smile or be disappointed, but whatever it is, there's almost instant feedback.
Yeah, that's true. That's really good. Okay, so how would you describe your journey as a business owner? Because Upshot didn't start as Upshot.
No, we started as VB Chocolate Bar, and the reason that we started that was I was into making chocolate, and I was like, well, let me create a business around making chocolate that I can put in my community, which happens to be Cottleville, Missouri. It's where we live. It's where our kids go to school. It's where at the time we were planning a church, and so what we really wanted to do is focus on. What was the main question? You're gonna have to edit this out. I forgot what you started with.
Describe your journey as a business owner.
So essentially, the reason we chose chocolate was I had learned how to make chocolate. We owned some chocolate businesses before BB Chocolate Bar. They were franchises. So we actually started out as a franchisee of a St. Louis company called Chocolate. And when me and my wife got married, we opened up one of those locations. We grew it to 4 locations. And during that process, I really thought it was all about the money. And so like when I was young, I was like, I just want to own a business. I want to scale it and make a bunch of money. And I had the same thing in my head that most young entrepreneurs have, like, how do I not work at all and make as much money as possible? Right? Which the older you get and the longer you're in business, you realize like there are some of those, there's some unicorns, but 99% of the people that build any kind of real business, it's consistent work and it's liking the work, right? It's not trying to get away from the work, right? If you're in a job where the entire goal is to get away from the actual work, that's probably not the right job for you.
Yeah.
Right? So, but if that work is challenging, changing, it's exciting, that's probably the right spot for you. So in this process, I was like, well, let's just open up 30 of these franchises and I'll just drive around and, make great money and that'll make me happy. And about, 3 years into it, I was awfully bored. I felt like all I really did was put boxes on the shelves, hire some people to stand out front, like basically warm bodies. There wasn't a lot of exciting, interesting business challenges within there. Now, had I dug deeper, there's always business challenges, right? But I didn't focus on that. So I thought, well, if I'm going to be able to sell this, maybe I should learn how to make some of this chocolate. So, because in that business, we did a lot of coating and dipping. So like we would coat chocolate covered strawberries. Like I would do that in my kitchen. But like all the truffles, caramels, anything that was more than just dipping it in tempered chocolate came from the factory. So I really had no idea how to make a caramel, a truffle, anything. So I bought my first book offline and I decided to just start teaching myself how to make it in the back of the kitchen because I was like, well, I'll sell it better if I understand how you make it. And in that process, over the next year or two, and it hit me much sooner. Like I got obsessed with making chocolate much sooner than I even realized it. But it basically became where I realized through learning how to make truffles and through learning how to make caramels, that was the creation process was the part I was actually excited about.
Mm.
So like the first year was just hand painting, the inside of truffle molds and learning how to, create handmade pieces of chocolate, and learning how to make a ganache and even learning how to read recipes because I didn't really know what glucose was and I didn't really know what all these technical terms were and measurements were completely different. So just figuring all of that stuff out. And then after about a year of handing them out to friends and stuff, they started to get really good.
Yeah.
Like really good. And so we started to think, okay, if we want to create our own business that we can grow a brand and it's not just a franchise where all I can do is put the stuff on the shelf, I can't create, right? Like that's not a value here necessarily. It's like, do this system, do it well, you'll make money. And I was like finding myself very interested in, well, I could just create a truffle from scratch, put it in a box I design on a website I own, and then I can invite my people in, right? And like I can control the entire thing. And I got really excited about that more so than just having 100 locations across Missouri, Illinois, Arkansas, or whatever, and just being in my car driving between and checking stores all day long and, doing a checklist. So then we started to think through, okay, well, should we open a business that I can sell these truffles at? Because they weren't really fit for chocolate. And, it wasn't really their style of chocolate at all. So it didn't even make sense. Even if the franchisor had said, yeah, go ahead and sell your, your custom truffles here, it wasn't really a fit for what we were selling. So I started looking around and I found the building in Cottleville. And when I found the building, I had about 2,800 square feet. And I thought, well, really high end. At the time, they were, I think, $2.50 a piece, which was back in 2012. So you can imagine that was a very high dollar amount for one piece of chocolate in St. Charles, Missouri, or anywhere. I mean, that was similar pricing to what people were paying in much larger cities for similar things. And so I thought to myself, well, I will definitely die if I just open up a 2,800 square foot chocolate shop. And I hope to God everyone in St. Charles and St. Louis comes here just to buy, individual chocolates. I was like, that could be tough. And then two, the other thing that I was trying to solve for was chocolate was very seasonal. So, if you missed on Valentine's Day because there was 3 days of ice and like people just couldn't get to you, like there was no making that money back. You were done, Easter, Christmas. So then I was also trying to problem solve, like, how do I have everyday consistency? Which is when we thought, well, chocolate is very similar to coffee and I love coffee, right? So that's like everyone's going to come in every day, get a cup of coffee, and then I can sell them a chocolate. Like, what is my thing to get them in there to get them over to the chocolates? So we decided around the coffee concept or around the chocolate concept, we were going to add a coffee really just to have stability. And then we added a liquor side too, because I was like, the three things that all focus around like single origin, terroir, similar tasting profiles, people drink or eat them for the same reasons is like, chocolate, coffee, and wine. I was like, well, let's just put them all together. And then I have really awesome coffee that I can put into my chocolate. I have really awesome bar stuff that I can utilize in my chocolate. So it was this insane place that we opened that did a bunch of awesome stuff. We made our own ice cream from scratch. We infused Alex Bradley Prensado cigars into cream, and we did like a tobacco, fig, and iced coffee ice cream. Like we did all kinds of really fun, cool stuff. And the place was packed. It was won all kinds of awards and it was very busy. It operated from 2012 to 2019. About 2018, I started to get pretty burned out with just the amount of things that happened underneath one roof and the amount of different staffs that all like worked together but didn't work together. And I wasn't a strong enough leader to understand the systems I needed to put in to make it work, to make the changes I needed to make from a hiring standpoint to get the right kind of leadership in there to support us. So my simple solution was, well, I'll just do the one thing here that I love the most, which is coffee, right? Instead of trying to do everything, I'll rebrand, I'll go to one thing, which is coffee, and then we'll have something simple that we can start to scale. And we won't be burned out because we won't be open until 1 a.m. We can close at a reasonable time. It fits my schedule with my kids and my wife. So in 2019, we closed down VB's. It was pretty traumatic for a lot of the people that had been there for a long time because it was a loved place. We sold every table, every sign, like everything in that place someone bought because it meant something to them. So that was kind of a cool thing to see is like we closed it, everyone was upset, but then it meant so much to people they would literally just like buy a table out of there so they'd have it in their living room because it meant something to them. So that was really, really cool. Transition to Upshot. We also at that time decided we were going to start roasting. So previously with VB Chocolate Bar, we were a guest roaster. So we would just bring in coffee from whoever we were interested in. But typically, it was Sweet Bloom, Onyx, Say, all the normal people that you see in a lot of different cafes. So we also decided we were going to go into roasting and focus on just doing one thing, which was coffee, and doing it really, really well. So in 2019, that's what we did. We reopened it. At first, I had fairly limited food, but we've found that adding really good food alongside really good coffee is kind of like the magic touch for us. So from 2019 to 2025 now, the food would be, I would say the biggest change is, we've gone from having a couple pastries and then we went to having more than a few pastries and we added a couple small breakfast sandwiches. And now when you come in, we've got a fully engineered menu that is just exceptional food for a coffee shop for anywhere. And it's home run type things like burritos and breakfast sandwiches that just sell all day long. And I think we've hit on after, 5 or 6 years of a lot of experimentations, I think we've kind of hit on what Upshot does at the cafe level.
Mm-hmm.
We've experimented the entire 5 or 6 years just trying things.
Yeah, that's super cool. I love hearing, especially the creativity aspect and how your perspective shifted from this is just a way I want to make money to wait, I'm actually really passionate about the process of creating and like fostering something that's new. And I think that's reflected in Upshot holistically. Like that seems to be one of the biggest like factors of what makes Upshot. It's the uniqueness and creativity. It's the ability to stand out and be recognized for its individualistic nature. Like people recognize the little orange or red logo on the cup because of the brand Upshot's built and how it stood out and just the leadership that you possess to make that happen. It's so cool to hear that because you can see that from an outsider's perspective, but you would never know that unless we got the opportunity to do something like this. So.
Well, and it's an interesting thing because like you get into business for one thing or you get into your job for one thing, right? And then you learn who you really are in that job, right? Because that's ultimately what anything that you're going to do for, a 50-year period, whether it's getting married, whether it's having a career, whether it's being a father, it's like the first 10 years you're putting into this thing is really when you're learning all the things about yourself and what motivates you and what motivates the people around you. And you go into everything with this idea of what it's going to be. And then there's this reality of the first 10 years of while you're actually doing the work, like you're almost pointed to, oh, actually, this isn't really why you're here.
Mm-hmm.
This is why you're here. And it changes on you and it evolves. And it evolves. Me and my wife talk about it all the time, like whether it's marriage or whether it's business, I feel like things evolve like pretty much every 7 or 8 years in my life. Like there's a big evolution somewhere every 7 or 8 years. So, it's getting comfortable with evolution, getting comfortable with change, making sure you're not changing just for the sake of change. Like there has to be absolute reason and purpose behind that, but also not being scared of change. And it's not being scared to fail. That's, if I would say one thing that is very good about the way that I built Upshot is like, we don't really penalize people for mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
We encourage people to be a little bit creative. We encourage people to have a little bit of fun. That doesn't mean that we're going to let you get out of bounds and do something to damage the company, but we're not scared to fail, right? Like if you say you suck at that, I'll go, okay, why is that? And then I'll get your feedback and I'll work on it. But we don't operate out of fear, which is one thing that I think is very valuable.
For sure.
And we don't operate out of fear because I've been able to hire and attract the people around me that I can trust,
mm-hmm.
right? Like when you have people around you that are important, in charge of important decisions, and you don't feel like you can trust them with their wisdom in those decisions, and there's a lot of anxiety and a lot of overmanagement. But if you can get the right people around you that operate I mean, because the same way that we're going to look at the people that I surround around me that are outside of the cafes that help me with the bigger picture stuff, like that has to be the exact same culture and energy for what I'm looking to align you guys with the cafes, right? To where they're excited to see me hear my ideas. I'm excited to see them hear their ideas, and it's very collaborative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm sure because the risk taking of Upshot, I'm sure it proposes its like level of challenges because there are some things that have to be successful, some things that do flop. What are some of the biggest challenges or things that you faced in creating and maintaining an effective and motivated team specifically across locations?
To me, it like the thing that I figured out probably 2 to 3 years ago, that was the main thing I was missing in trying to understand how to build a team, is you have to understand what your culture is, and you have to absolutely protect your culture.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to hire people that will fit that culture,
Yeah.
right? And even if you make a mistake and you hire someone, like let's say you're opening a new store, right? And you got to hire 10 new people, and then suddenly 2 managers quit it or get in a car accident at your other stores, right? And you're just in this loop of, I need bodies now,
Yeah.
right? There are times when you're going to hire people that don't fit in that culture. But if you have done a good job of building your culture, the culture of that shop will pretty much kick that person out
Mm-hmm.
without you really having to do it, right? Like, because they're just not going to meet standards. They're not going to like that people hold them accountable. They're not going to like that people don't bitch about their boss every time they come into work. Like, they can't just gossip all day long about everyone they hate, every stupid regular. Like, if you don't respond well to like liking your customers, liking your bosses, liking your, employers, and liking what you do, then that culture is going to kick you out. And so the number one thing that I figured out is like, define what your culture is. In ours, it's like, we want people that are happy, healthy, excited to serve people, right? Like, if you don't like people, then
Be hard.
you just don't belong at the register, right? Like, because half of what we're doing is we're making people's days better, right? And in return, a lot of times they help us enjoy our day, right? Because if there's regulars that we build relationships with that we actually like, we don't just like them because they hand us money, but we actually like them because we've gotten to know them because we serve them coffee. Like, when they come in, you're as excited to see them, and you have that 30-second break in your day to say, "What's up, John? How you doing? How's the wife? Like, tell me something good that happened today." And like, you just get a moment to see a friend, and you didn't have to stop and go to a restaurant to meet them and have an hour dinner. It's like you're in a job where all your friends can just come to you and see you for a minute every day. And there's something really rewarding about that for the right personality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, personality's got to be huge, especially in like you're saying something that is so like it's all hospitality. And that's a really good point. I didn't even think about what I find so much joy in the job of just like every person that walks in, it's like, oh, I get to have a conversation with them. Like I hadn't processed it like that, but that's a really good way you put it. Of you just get to see your friends all day and get to like check in and make those relationships for the right personality that can be really healthy and really beneficial.
And there's times where I've thought to myself, like, why do you do this? Like, I've literally just asked myself that, like, why are you in this during some of the harder times, right? And it's surprising. I don't know that I'd ever really thought about it. And then when was in that, where I was like, well, why is it that I do this? What is it that I love about this? Like, if I have to define it for myself, what is it that keeps me in the hospitality industry if I can just go sell insurance, or I can go do this, or I can do anything, right? What keeps me in hospitality? Because so far it's been chocolate retail, a bar,
Yeah.
and a cafe. So clearly I just keep doing hospitality businesses. And it dawned on me that the main reason that like I want to go to work and I'm excited to go to work is like I want to see people in my everyday that I would have to go out of my way to see. Like, I want my everyday to be full of people that just I get to see because we're in the same rhythms, right? And it's not like every person that I like that I miss, I've got to like make a lunch date and go see them. It's like build this life, or it's like there's 30 people I love seeing all the time, and I see like 20 of them every week, right? And then the next week I'll see the other 10. So that was one thing that I really realized. If you're a person that really loves building relationships, hospitality can be extremely rewarding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's super true. Okay, what would you say your leadership style is, and how do you think it's evolved as the business has grown, whether it's from like VB Chocolates or as you've grown Upshot from 1 to 4 locations? What would you say your leadership style is and how has it evolved?
I would say early on, you have a lot of imposters complex, or however you want to define that. I would say early on, there's a lot of gray area in your leadership because you don't really know how to ask for things. You, the other problem is like when you're building the business, you can't really afford to pay anyone. So like that's the other thing no one really ever talks about is like when you're in business, you need to ask the most out of people when it's new and you really can't pay them. And most people want to do a lot more because they're getting incentivized. So like early on, figuring out how to, regardless of all the other variables, just set expectations and hold people accountable to those expectations and set fair expectations. Then leadership style should always be that you're going to outwork your team, right? Like you're not going to ask them to do things that you didn't do for the last 20 years or you're not currently doing now. And I don't really want to have to lead people that need me to lead them 24/7. I want to lead people that are as good or better than me that I get to work with. Right now, to say that when I walk into a cafe and we have a bunch of new people that are learning the business, the way that I want to lead them is I want to lead by example. How do they see me talk to regulars, right? Like I'm sure you guys see me when I come in the cafe. And if you're at Flagship, I mean, I've been there since 2012. I'm not there every day anymore, but there's a lot of history for me with different people there. So if I walk in, I'm most likely going to see 4 to 5 people that I love that I haven't seen nearly as recently as I used to. So what am I going to do? I'm going to walk up to them. No matter how busy I am, I'm going to put the customer first, go shake their hand, give them a hug, talk to them, keep it within reason if I have 30 other things to do. But what I hope to do is I hope to show you guys by the way I walk into the cafe. Am I smiling? Am I greeting you? Am I asking you about your day? Am I going and hugging customers and showing you guys or shaking their hand or just asking them how their day is? Am I treating customers well? What energy am I bringing in? Right? Like that's one thing that I think a lot of people don't realize is like when you walk in an establishment, whatever energy you come in with, it affects the entire place. Right? So if you're the owner and you're walking into a cafe and you guys are all having a challenging day, let's say the ice machine went down, the steam wand just burned someone, whatever. Like people are just a little bit annoyed and frustrated that day because of restaurant life, right? And I walk in and I'm in a great mood and I offer to help do something, take an order at the register, go do your dishes, smile, get everyone's mood back up and just impact you that way. Is that better? Or should I walk in because I'm frustrated about something? I'm already in a bad mood. Then I yell at you guys because the ice machine's broken, which is out of your control, but it doesn't matter to me, right? So how do I impact the cafe when I walk in? Since I'm not there every day, how do I impact you? Do I motivate you? Do I show you that I care about you? Do I show you the way I expect you to talk to employees and customers because I show you every day by the way I talk to employees and customers? Like that's the way that I'm trying to lead now. Do it, institute it in people, be wildly consistent and educate people as we go as much as I can for those that are learning and growing in that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can attest to that too. Cause I remember the first time I walked in, I was like, I don't even know who this guy is, but he's just so happy to be here. I was like, I don't know if he works here or what. And then one of the other employees is like, oh, he's the owner. I was like, that I've never seen an owner do something like that. You lead in such a way it's almost like when I think about like the leadership style you just described, it was like a very servant leader.
Yep.
Like it's very much like doing the dirty work. Like there's been shifts where I've been working and you've come in and I've been stressed as all get out. And you're like, how about I do these dishes for you? And you just go back there and start doing dishes. That's what is going to make the impact for not only your employees, but like you're saying for the customers. And it's going to just radiate and drastically change the trajectory of the business. And
well, and that's the thing is most people that are in your business that are choosing to work for you, like want you to succeed. They want to do their best. So really you're walking in assessing what is not making them successful, right? Is it something that they need from me? Is it something that we haven't put in our systems? Is it something that my manager is off today and so she's affecting the staff? So I need to like just check in on that and see how things are going, right? Like it's so much more than just what people see as leadership or management or ownership. It's really just impacting people the way that you expect them to impact you, right? And I've been in charge of this company when our culture was off, right? And I've walked